All right, today we're diving into something truly fascinating, maybe even a little mind-bending. It's all about the rules that decide one of the biggest questions in any society. Who are you allowed to marry? And we're going to do it by looking at the incredible kinship map of India.
So let's start with a really simple question, something we can all think about. Who do you count as your family? And then, who does that leave on or off the list of people you could possibly marry? You might have an easy answer, but believe me, that answer is totally different depending on where you are in the world.
And in India, that answer changes dramatically depending on where you stand. It's almost like there are two completely different social operating systems running the country. In the north, the whole system is built on who you descend from, your ancestry. But in the south, it's all about the alliances you forge through the act of marriage itself.
So, to get our heads around this, here's our roadmap. We'll start with those two big blueprints for society. Then we'll look at the groups they create. After that, we're navigating the marriage maze. Then we'll ask, is marriage a sacred bond or a contract? And finally, we'll get into the currency of kinship. Yep, we're talking about gifts.
All right, let's jump right into part 1, 2, Blueprints for Society. We're talking about the absolute foundational ideas that shape family life across the entire subcontinent.
First up, we have what's called descent theory. Think of this as the main software running in North India. And here, everything, and I mean everything, is about your bloodline. Your identity, your place in the world, it's all decided by the group you were born into. It's based on shared ancestry, and almost always that's traced through the father's side.
Okay, now let's flip that idea completely on its head and look at alliance theory, which is the dominant model in the South. This is where it gets really interesting, because kinship isn't just about who you were born from, it's about who you connect to through marriage. The marriage itself isn't just a personal thing, it's the very glue that builds and holds the social structure together.
Okay, so we have these two big theories, descent versus alliance. But what does that actually look like for people on the ground? How does it create real social groups? Well, that brings us to our next section. Who's in your group?
In the North, it's kind of like a set of Russian nesting dolls. At the very center, you have your patrilineage. These are the relatives you can actually trace to a specific, known male ancestor. Now that lineage fits inside a much bigger group called a clan, or gotra, which goes way back to some mythical ancestor. And that whole structure? It sits inside your subcaste, or jati. That's the biggest doll, and it's the pool you have to find a spouse in. The South, well, it couldn't be more different. Your entire social world is basically split right down the middle into two teams. On one side, you have your Pangali. These are your patrilineal relatives, basically your brothers and sisters. Marrying them? Absolutely not. Forbidden. And on the other side? Well, that's everyone else, called the Mama Mashinan. These are your in-laws, or your potential in-laws. It's a simple, binary world, people you can't marry and people you can.
All right, so we've got the groups down. Now let's talk about the rules of the game. Get ready to enter the marriage maze, because this is where the logic in the North and South just goes in completely opposite directions. And this really gets to the heart of it. In the North, the whole system runs on what we call negative rules. It's not a list of who you can marry, it's a very long list of who you absolutely cannot. The whole point is to push marriages outward and expand your social network. But the South? It's all about positive rules. The system gives you clear suggestions for who you should marry, all with the goal of strengthening the bonds you already have.
So, let's look at the biggest negative rule in the North. It's often called the 4-clan rule, and it's pretty strict. You cannot marry someone from your father's clan, your mother's clan, your father's mother's clan, or your mother's mother's clan. Just think about that for a second. That rule basically guarantees that you have to marry someone far, far outside of your extended family.
And the result of that rule? It's huge. For one, it completely bans any kind of cousin marriage, but it also creates this really strict one-way street. A family that gives a daughter in marriage is called a bride giver, and because of their status, they can never receive a daughter back from that same family. So right away, the relationship isn't equal, it's hierarchical.
And the South, of course, does the complete opposite. The rules are actually designed to encourage marriage with close relatives to make those family alliances even stronger. So it's common to marry your elder sister's daughter or your cross cousins. And a cross cousin is just the daughter of your dad's sister or your mom's brother. The whole idea is to keep weaving the same families together generation after generation, making that bond unbreakable.
Okay, but let's step back from all these structural rules for a moment. What is marriage? At its core, what does it actually mean? Let's dive into that and see how different religious traditions answer that very question. Is it a sacred bond, or is it a legal contract?
In the Hindu tradition, marriage is seen as a samskara, which is to say,
a sacrament. It's not just a celebration. It's a profound religious duty. The idea is that it's this sacred, unbreakable bond, and its purpose is really to perpetuate the family line and help you fulfill your duties in society.
Now, Islamic tradition sees it in a very different light. The nikah is defined quite clearly as a civil contract. Its purpose is very direct, legalizing sexual intercourse and the procreation of children. And just like any contract, it requires a formal proposal, the ijab, and a formal acceptance, the qubul. It's a clear, legal agreement.
And Christian marriage, well, it lands much closer to the Hindu perspective. It's also viewed as a sacrament, a holy, unbreakable union. You've probably heard the famous words, "What God hath joined together, no man put asunder." That really drives home the idea that this is a divine bond, something that goes beyond just a social agreement.
Okay, for our final section, let's look at how all these abstract rules and ideas become real and visible. You know the saying, follow the money? Well, here, we're going to follow the gifts. We're talking about the currency of kinship and how wedding gifts reveal everything about power, status, and family structure.
Now, to get what's happening in the North, you absolutely have to understand one key term: hypergamy. It's a simple idea. It's the practice of a woman marrying up into a family with higher social standing. And trust me, this one principle is the engine that drives the entire system of exchange.
And this chart shows you exactly how it works. Because of hypergamy, the flow of gifts and money is almost entirely one way. The bride's family gives a significant dowry and other gifts to the groom's higher status family. So what do they get back? It's not cash. It's the social currency of prestige and honor that comes from being allied with a more powerful family.
But now, just look at the South. It's a totally different story. The gift exchange is reciprocal. It's a two-way street. The groom's side might give a gift, but the bride's side is expected to return the favor, sometimes even giving back gifts of double the value. It's this circular flow that keeps everything in balance, because the families see each other as equals.
So to pull this all together, this table gives us a perfect side-by-side comparison. In the North, it's all about descent. You've got negative rules creating these wide hierarchical networks, and wealth flows one way in exchange for social status. In the South, it's all about alliance. You've got positive rules creating tight, interlocking networks, and the gift exchange is reciprocal, flowing between equals.
And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. In our super-connected, globalized world, where people are moving and cultures are mixing like never before, how do these ancient social blueprints still shape our lives today? Our choices, our relationships, even our sense of who we are? And maybe more importantly, what happens when these two very different operating systems for society start to collide?